So again, good morning, and we have some updates with respect to Aaron, which is a dangerous hurricane east of the Georgia-Florida coast, and is expected to continue to track north and then turn to the northeast over the next day to 2 days and pass offshore the area. But as we know, we will see impacts from Aaron. So the latest information, a tropical storm warning is now in effect for Virginia Beach and the Virginia Eastern Shore, and warnings remain in effect for Currituck County and the Atlantic coastal waters and the Bay and Lower James. And again, even outside of the tropical storm warning, areas like Norfolk, Chesapeake, Hampton, there's still some good potential for wind gusts around 40 miles per hour. And then coastal flood watches are in effect for tomorrow and Friday due to expected moderate to major coastal flooding, which corresponds to 1 to 3 feet of inundation above ground level in vulnerable areas. And of course, impacts are going to be felt well outside the center of the cone, and dangerous marine conditions are expected with a significant increase in seas tonight and Thursday, with 12 to 16 feet seas expected, with also significant dune and beach erosion from now and especially tonight through at least Thursday night, if not into Friday. This is our tropical storm warning. It's now in effect for Currituck County, and with the 11 a.m. cycle, they added Virginia Beach. We added the Virginia Eastern Shore. And again, in these areas outside of the warning, Norfolk, Chesapeake, and the peninsula, especially Hampton, even though they're not in the warning, gusts to around 40 miles an hour are likely tomorrow, and we'll get into the wind timing in a little bit. So again, this is the coastal flood watch in effect for much of the area bordering the bay, ocean, and tidal rivers, with moderate to major coastal flooding expected, with water levels peaking either tomorrow evening down here, and then in the upper bay, water levels don't peak until Friday night as water gets trapped into the bay due to the swell and wind. So we will actually go through the timeline for wind probabilities again here today. And this is the latest updated information. Not much change from yesterday, I will say, but just in terms of timing, this is a probability for tropical storm force wind gusts. So essentially wind gusts of 39 miles an hour or greater. You can see by 2 a.m. the probabilities sharply increase across our North Carolina waters and into Currituck County. And then by sunrise on Thursday, we'll likely be seeing some tropical storm force wind gusts up into the Southeast Virginia coastal waters and up into Virginia Beach. And then winds peak during the day on Thursday, with those probabilities expanding northward. And notice there's a pretty sharp cutoff once you get west of the bay, with certainly breezy conditions expected across interior portions of East and Southeast Virginia, but not expecting tropical storm force gusts here. And then you can see by the afternoon, and especially into the Thursday evening, Thursday night, the probabilities for tropical storm force winds decrease from west to east as Aaron pulls away from the area. So here are the overall maximum probabilities. Again, peak winds likely occur from late tonight through Thursday evening, with a pretty high confidence in tropical storm force wind gusts right along the Atlantic coast, with certainly a few gusts to 40 miles an hour likely in this corridor, with a sharp cutoff as we head further inland. And again, the most likely arrival time for those tropical storm force winds is going to be late tonight into Thursday, early Thursday morning, but on the early end. Early, maybe you're looking at uh, late late evening through the first part of tonight. So in terms of wind timing, kind of looking at it in a deterministic sense, you can see our maximum wind gusts are expected to be 40 to 50 right along the Atlantic coast, and 30 to 40 still just outside of the tropical storm warnings, and then 25 to 30 further inland. And you can see the winds ramp up pretty quickly tonight and peak during the day on Thursday. Then you see a pretty sharp decrease and as you head into Thursday night and especially Friday. And peak winds will be out of the north to northeast throughout the event. Switching gears, talking about tidal flooding potential. Of course, the worst flooding will be around the time of high tide, which is what these graphics represent. Is your peak flooding at high tide each day. Noting that most areas will see moderate flooding, with some areas potentially seeing major flooding, especially Virginia Beach and along the Atlantic coast of Currituck County. And again, those water levels peak tomorrow evening across the southern part of our area, and they don't peak until Friday evening, Friday night, from Windmill Point, Tappahannock, northward to the bay side of the Maryland Eastern Shore, with still some residual coastal flooding likely even through Saturday up here, especially. And just going through our tide forecast, this is the latest information. These forecasts were just updated about an hour and a half ago. You can see major flooding forecast for Virginia Beach at Lynn Haven and also along the Atlantic coast of Virginia Beach, even though we don't have an official forecast point there. You can see the peak water levels occurring Thursday evening in all these sites, Sewell's Point, and then in Jamestown as well, getting above that 4.5 foot threshold. Widespread moderate to locally major flooding is expected. Again, 2 to 3 feet of inundation in those vulnerable or flood prone areas across the lower bay and adjacent to the James River as well. In the upper bay, you can see in Maryland and along the tidal Potomac and Tappahannock will be similar to Louisetta in terms of the tidal trends. You can see the water levels don't peak till Friday night, just due to the fact that water will get trapped in the bay, and eventually your peak water levels will shift to northward there as the winds lighten up. And moderate to maybe major at Bishop's Head in southern Dorchester County, with generally 1 to 2 feet of inundation expected. And along the ocean, we're expecting in most areas moderate flooding, although down across the coast of Virginia, Atlantic coast of Virginia Beach, and especially Currituck County, major flooding is expected. And not only along the Atlantic coast, is there going to be tidal flooding? Also, the overwash and beach and dune erosions likely as well, just due to the large swell in excess of 10 feet and possibly above 15 feet for a few hours tomorrow. And again, 1 to 3 feet of inundation is expected, with the higher values across the southeast Virginia and northeast North Carolina coast. We're not expecting much in the way of rain with Aaron as it's passing well offshore, but certainly could see some showers and maybe a few storms both today and tomorrow, with the highest chances near the coast. And shifting gears into the marine side of things, we're looking at pretty dangerous marine conditions as we head into tonight, Thursday night, and even into part of Friday with seas of well above 12 feet and wind gusts of 40 to 45 knots. And you can see the peak wind forecast around 45 knot gusts across the ocean, and 35 to 40, maybe close to 45 at the mouth of the bay. And even into the lower James, certainly we're expecting a pretty a decent period of gale force gusts. And again, those peak winds occur Thursday, similar to the land areas, with a decrease as we head into Friday, and especially over the weekend. So moving on to seas, you can see peaking at 12 to 18 feet tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. And again, that's going to be much more than enough to cause issues with beach and dune erosion, even with Erin passing offshore. And with that, I'm more than happy to open it up to any specific questions. Feel free to type them in, and I'll be on here for several more minutes, so take your time if you have any questions. Thanks, everyone, for your time, and have a great day.